one of the reasons why we did the pop-up here at the Gathering Spot is because of my personal connection to Ryan Wilson, having seen the Gathering Spot come alive. But also, we know Atlanta is a very special place. And because Atlanta is such a special place, we brought a very special artist. So you all will get a special performance by none other than Kemal. Can we give a round of applause for that? I know, people know Kemal. Maryland native, PG County, Frederick Douglass High School, there we go, has joined us all the way here in Atlanta because he knows how special this moment was. And then once Kemal finishes, we're gonna have, in every city that we go to, we do our best to feature an artist. Kemal is coming from the DMV, which we know and love, but we also want to make sure that we're showing love to Atlanta. So following Kemal, we'll have an opportunity to hear from DJ Monet. Can we give a round of applause for her as well? All right, so once you're shocked and awed by this amazing panel, don't rush out the door. We got a lot of cool things coming. But with that being said, let's hop into this thing. So our first panelist for the evening, can we give a round of applause for Ms. Hope Wallensack? Whoa. Whoa. Ms. Hope Wallensack is a policy and economic justice advocate, the executive director of Georgia Resilience and Opportunity Fund. Hope Wallensack is a leader in economic justice and policy and innovation, working to create direct solutions for economic inequity in Black communities. She serves as the executive director of the Georgia Resilience and Opportunity Fund, where she spearheads programs like In Her Hands, a guaranteed income initiative that provides direct financial support to low-income women across Georgia. Before leading GROW, Hope worked as a senior strategist at the Economic Security Project and policy and advocacy director at Fair Fight Action, helping shape policies that address economic exclusion. She began her career as an educator in New Orleans, where she fuels her commitment to design policies that work for the peoples they serve. She holds an MPA from Princeton University and a BA from Tufts, where she co-founded the African Studies Program. Hope is a champion for direct investment in Black communities, pushing for solutions that give people real power over their economic futures. And I'm feeling all the pressure because I can see Hope staring at me. I hope I got that right. Can we give a round of applause for Hope? Thank you. Shout out to Ms. Hope. Our next panelist on this amazing evening, we have Ms. Trinity Simone, entrepreneur and digital influencer. Please give her a round of applause. Now, Ms. Trinity, the founder of Black Vibe Tribe, and the youth will be at just 14 years old, Trinity Simone founded Black Vibe Tribe, a brand dedicated to uplifting Black culture and dismantling oppressive systems. Over the years, the brand has grown into a global movement, featuring retail partnerships, including the pop-up at Nordstrom Phipps Plaza in Atlanta. Beyond entrepreneurship, Trinity is committed to empowering young voices. She founded The Youth Will Be an initiative designed to support young Black writers in telling their own stories. Through her digital influence, brand building expertise, and community-driven leadership, Trinity continues to inspire the next generation to take ownership of their narrative and financial futures. Her work has been recognized as a force in digital entrepreneurship, and she remains a powerful advocate for Black economic self-sufficiency, wealth building, and cultural preservation. Recently unemployed, can we please give a round of applause for Ms. Trinity Simone? Thank you. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. She's unemployed. Shout out, Trinity. All right, here we go. All right. And last, but certainly not least, our moderator for this evening. Is he here? He is here, running fashionably late as a star should. Dr. Brian Dolo Dorsey, entrepreneur and community leader. Give me a round of applause for him. Founder of Goodfellas Pizza and Wings, Sea Salt in Tulum, Atlanta, and a lot of other clubs that you probably should not bring your kids to. He is the moderator for Purpose Tour Atlanta. Dr. Brian Dolo Dorsey is one of Atlanta's most influential entrepreneurs, known for building multi-million-dollar businesses from the ground up while keeping the culture at the center of his work. From Goodfellas Pizza and Wings to the highly anticipated Tulum, Atlanta, he has mastered the art of ownership, community engagement, and cultural influence in the restaurant and nightlife industry. Beyond businesses, Dolo is deeply committed to philanthropy and community empowerment, organizing fundraisers, mentorship programs, and investment opportunities that give back to the same communities he came from. His entrepreneurial journey is a blueprint for economic independence, proving that ownership is the key to building real power and legacy. As the moderator for the Purpose Tour Atlanta, Dolo will lead a conversation this evening that goes beyond theory and into real-life strategies for Black wealth, power, and self-sufficiency. You better call him doctor. This is Dolo Dorsey.
Test. I guess I can see I don't do this for real. My name is Dorsey, Dr. Dorsey, first name Brian. Y'all probably the only ones I've introduced to as my first name. I don't really do this public speaking thing. I'm really a behind the scenes type of guy. Most of the people in our, I guess, generation and demographic run a lot of different multi-million-dollar mom and pop stores. Most of us don't really try to be behind the scenes. We want to be the glorified GM is what I call it. Most of the people, when you see these big Fortune 500 companies, you don't know the owner. So I don't really like to do this because I'm not trying to be a big old multi-million-dollar mom and pop store. So I'm not really trying to be known as that guy, because when you make it about yourself, I gotta be about myself forever. And then I have a job now. Most of my businesses growing up were clubs, parties. If I go out, you gonna come out. If I don't go out, and you my friend, you don't wanna go out no more. I don't want businesses like that for me. I want businesses that you all go to, that you've never seen the owner. You might have to Google them. Even you might not Google them. You love the restaurants. You love their establishments. It's not about them. So, Darius is one of my real close friends. I grew up with his brother, Demetrius, so he kind of forced me into this. I did get my doctorate just for the aspect of first impression. You only get one first impression. There's no such thing as a first impression second time. So I wear jewelry sometimes for everybody else. I don't care about this. In our culture, people categorize you from the first time they meet you. No matter what you got going on, if you look like it, they think you got something going on. If you don't look like it, they think you have nothing going on. So, in this course of our moderation in our conversation, we're going to be talking about a lot of different community aspects of how to each one teach one, and how we can all create generational wealth and not be a multi-million-dollar mom and pop store. Cool? So I'm gonna let these two ladies introduce themselves one good time, and then we'll go ahead.
My name is Trinity Simone. I am the creator and founder of Black Vibe Tribe, an apparel brand that I started when I was 14 years old. I'm 22 years old now, so I'm 8 years in the game. I created the apparel brand with the intention to connect, love, uplift, and build with those deriving from the African diaspora. Clothing was just the medium that we used to connect with the community, with individuals such as ourselves, and really uplift and amplify our voices. I'm also the founder of a nonprofit organization called The Youth Will Be All Right, ALLWRITE, where we amplify incarcerated youth and their voices through the donation of composition notebooks, because we basically want to give them a platform. Their voices have gone unheard and silenced for so long. So we do this, the donation of composition notebooks, for their voices to be heard. I'm very grateful to be on this panel. Darius, thank you so much. He gave me an amazing introduction, and I'm blessed to share space and community with you all tonight.
Hi, everyone. I'm Hope Wolensack. I'm the founder and executive director of the Georgia Resilience and Opportunity Fund, or GROW Fund. And we are about a 4-year-old organization born out of organizing with the community and radically asking community members what they need to be financially secure and to access wealth. What we found through that process was that oftentimes folks in our communities are actually outperforming and making the right choices, but oftentimes we lack that just extra cash in our pockets. That community organizing led to what is now in her hands. It is a $30 million project spanning 4 communities in Georgia, including some neighborhoods on Atlanta's west side that provide Black women enrolled in our program, that is focused on the Black women enrolled in our program receiving $850 to $1,000 a month, no strings attached. We are excited to be launching a second program that is focused on young people, both providing them a guaranteed income, flexible spending to meet their basic needs, but also in a large sum that they can use to invest in appreciating assets. All of this is with the goal of not just serving the 1,000 or 100 people enrolled enrolled in our program, given the respective programs, but it is to shape the systems and public policy opportunities that direct resources into our communities. And so our programs are a proof point of hope, they are a proof point of change, they are a proof point of a different society and economy that we can live in. At least we hope that they are.
That's super dope. Everybody round of applause? Round of applause? One more time for Darius, too. Where you at? You put us on the spot. You in here somewhere. I appreciate you, too. So we were all kind of taught growing up, go to college. Work hard, you'll succeed. Get a job, you'll succeed. What was it that kind of taught you that the rules don't really apply to you?
I think for me, I took a very non-traditional route. So I didn't go to college. I started as a young entrepreneur. And in my personal experience, and again, I'm 22, so I'm still relatively young. I started it when I was
You're really
14. Yeah. And I'm fortunate enough in being asked that question that I haven't yet, and I don't want to manifest it and put it out there because I don't want to attract it, but I haven't had an experience where I really felt like I was directly discriminated against or where I felt that the rules were different for me. And I think it also had to do with me growing up with the mindset that, you know, you put your best foot forward. You're taught that you already have to work 1,000 times harder than your, non-Black counterpart to succeed. So I was always very intentional about dotting my I's and crossing my T's and making sure that I never gave anyone a chance to deny me or tell me no, because I was doing the groundwork to give myself those opportunities. Now, with that said, I'm not going to cast a blind eye to the inequities or the discrimination that I know a lot of individuals who look like us face in the business industry, because that's very prevalent. Me personally, I just haven't had that experience, nor do I want it. Like I said, I don't want to manifest this in my life, but I've been fortunate enough to make sure that I was always having my ducks in a row, even when it came to coming into a warehouse space at 18 years old, making sure we credit qualified, making sure we had the business bank statements or the documentation that will allow me to have that opportunity for myself so no one could just deny me or tell me no, right? So that's how I would answer that question from my perspective.
Okay, so great, dope. In the aspect of if everyone's working hard, what makes it more about strategy and being the extra 1% that's gonna be in the gym when nobody's in the gym? So in the course of your life, what have you had to do that nobody else is gonna do besides you?
Hard work always pays off.
For sure.
That's what I've always been taught. That's how I grew up. Those were the principles that were instilled in me. So it's gonna be the extra research that you do, the countless hours you're pouring in, the nights that you're staying up, the tears and the blood, all of that you're putting into your company, right? It really comes down to dedication. We've seen this with the people that we idolize, the people we look up to. We hear it with like Mamba mentality and Kobe Bryant. It was him getting up earlier than his teammates, him putting up the extra shot. So I feel like for me, it was about what I put forth would be returned to me tenfold. So if I knew that I was putting in those extra hours, that I was making sure the product I sent out was to a certain standard or quality or caliber, I knew that I would reap the benefits in that of, who saw my brand, who noticed it, making sure that I was always moving with good intentions. And so, again, what you put out, I'm a firm believer, and that's what you receive.
Dope. We're a little older than her. So what have you had to unlearn in the course of your business that you might have been taught that kind of might not have applied to real life scenarios?
Yeah, and maybe connecting some of these questions together, like when did I learn kind of that the game was rigged, and kind of like what types of things did I need to unlearn? Briefly, I'll share, I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut, and lots of times folks are like, Connecticut? But New Haven, Connecticut is, despite the extreme amount of affluence in Connecticut, especially in Fairfield County, think like banking, finance, Connecticut has some of the deepest inequality in the country. Some of that resonates now living here in Atlanta, where we see some of the deepest inequality in this very city. It has the lowest economic mobility of any major city in the country. And so when I realized the game was kind of rigged and that hard work alone does not equate to success, that there is strategy, there is resources, there are all these other factors that result in success, I was a young child growing up in New Haven, wondering why, my mom was raising 6 of us, I'm the youngest of 6, working 2 jobs, but if I had been born just in a different zip code, my mom probably would have been a stay-at-home mom, and that was the result of historical policies where wealth begets wealth. And so I always worked twice as hard to get half as far. Like, I understood those principles. My mom always instilled that in me, and I became a teacher, and I realized I wanted to stop asking Black bodies and Black children to have to work twice as hard to get half as far. And what was I gonna do to change the game on us having to work twice as hard to get half as far? I'm not opposed to hard work. Sometimes I overwork myself. There are some later questions about this. But it's just to say that if hard work alone in this country was going to result in success, we would see very different outcomes than we see today around who has a lot and who doesn't, because hard work is just one portion of the equation. So I just, realizing the game was rigged, I think that was largely the result of my upbringing and asking, why do these people over here have so much more than my very hardworking family and myself over here? So, yeah.
Okay. How many people here went to college? College? Okay, so no offense. I ended up going back, but during my college phase, it was a lot of people that were working really countless hours, all day, all night, library, group projects, research, after with the teacher. That type of energy doesn't really translate to people's real life. People will pay to go to college, countless hours, sleepless nights, to get a on a quiz or a paper or tests, go to the next class, but will not exhaust the same type of energy for your business. It's kind of weird. So when we all go from here, me and Darius have been talking countless about trying to help each other force those long hours that we did on some volunteer work, basically, to get a degree. Because I know a lot of y'all know your friends that have these great degrees and don't use them, right? But to get that great degree, do you know what y'all did to go to get it? Countless hours, sleepless nights, group projects. And then work somewhere 9 to 5 where it has nothing to do with your career. So after here, everybody try to at least intentionally work hours towards your goals rather than what you did in college for somebody else. Because a lot of those teachers aren't as far as y'all can be, because the same books that they're teaching y'all can get online right now. They buy them, y'all go to the bookstore. That bookstore ain't owned by y'all college. Everybody had access to that same bookstore. So, when did you learn about money? Was it from trial and error? Was it from your family? Was it from a course? Go first this time.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I already shared a little bit about where and how I grew up. I definitely learned my first lessons around money from my mom, watching her budget, watching her coupon, watching her make it work. What I saw was counter to, I think, the myths that we often hear. My mom, most people would look at our economic situation and they might say kind of like, what are you all doing wrong? But my mom was doing everything right. She was actually outperforming, I would argue, based on the resources that she had. So oftentimes we look at communities like working class families, even middle class families, we're kind of like, what are you doing wrong? But for the resources that they have, they're making them extend far beyond their reach. We should be looking at them and saying, how are you turning how are you turning 15 cents into $1 day after day, year after year? There are plenty of assets that exist in that community. So I actually felt like my mother instilled in me values of when I have more, I can make it go even further. I luckily also, one of my sisters went into finance. She's also a Georgetown alum. It's a small world. And so she helped to instill a lot of principles in our family that I think helped to carry me really far, even that have been the foundational principles on my financial education. But the biggest thing for me, there are some key principles that I think everyone should know. I was a middle school teacher. I think that we should have financial education in our schools. And at the same time, we also need more resources because everyone hits those inevitable bumps on the road in their financial and life journey. Everyone makes a mistake here or there, and those things, we don't have to be superhuman all the time. We can make mistakes along our journey, and it still be okay. That's a part of being human. So I think we'll get into this, some of their personal practices that I do, but my financial learning was really, how do you do more with less? And then when you have more, make more, a lot more. And I think there are so many assets in our community that oftentimes I want us to embrace those principles rather than oftentimes push ourselves away from them. Yeah.
Super dope. So, Trinity, you started Black Vibe Tribe as a teenager. Through your course of your young age, what was the hardest thing that you had to learn through that course of those years?
I would say for me, the hardest lesson that I learned starting Black Vibe Tribe at such a young age, and this is coming from my own personal perception, is that when I was coming up as a young girl, getting my feet wet in this industry, I didn't feel welcomed in the business industry, and maybe that partly had to do to my age. I'm not even legal. Why is she at the table? Why is she a part of this conversation, right? And I feel like in the social realm, the social world, I had amassed a pretty significant following of individuals who not only supported my work, but really resonated with it and connected with it, aligned with it, and really embraced it in a way that I felt was really special. But then transitioning into the physical realm where now I'm in these spaces and I'm networking and I'm, shaking hands and rubbing shoulders, I didn't get that same warm and welcome embrace and interaction that I had received on a digital or social side of things. And so as a young child, it's a tough pill to swallow. It's almost like going into the lunchroom and it's like, oh, you have the cool kids table, you can't sit with us. Sure. And you're kind of internalizing that and wondering, well, why? In my eyes, I feel like I'm, taking all the right steps, doing all the right things, but there's still this very evident disconnect. And I feel like while that was kind of a tough thing to acknowledge growing up, as I was advancing, that also strengthened my sense of self-determination, of looking inward and saying, okay, well, let's look at the individuals who are embracing me, who I do have that connection with. Even my family, my parents, who have been a huge support in my inner ecosystem. We'll do this ourselves, right? And I'll never say I'm self-made because there's been so much outpour of love and support in individuals who really contributed to my success. But I feel like, that was kind of the hardest thing that I had to kind of face in growing my business, that, okay, I might not get all the warm and gushy feelings from everybody who I may interact with on the physical sense of things, but I focused on the positive. I still had this pretty significant following who truly and was very intentional about connecting with what the tagline is, to connect, to love, to uplift, to build, and to make sure we rooted ourselves in those principles.
You ever been in a room where somebody walks in and they had glasses and they just walked to the other side and you looked and you didn't really care because you didn't feel a threat? And then somebody else walked in with a hood and it kind of looked a little big and you kind of was scared. It's because there was a threat. You felt like there was a threat. That's kind of the same thing when it comes to business. When people don't feel or care you in the room, they don't feel like you a threat. Come on in here. They want to push you out of the room that they feel like you're a threat, so that you should actually embrace that and actually get even closer. Because the person that's feeling the threat is probably the person that has the weakest of the link. I like when people don't like when I'm in the room, because that means you are some type of insecure and there's some type of weakness in here. I might can buy this room. Feel me? So don't never care what people think, because people are really not gonna like you. It's not a thing to like people. It's almost second nature to not like somebody first. You've almost not liked somebody from across the room before you've liked somebody from across the room. It's weird, but it's just human nature. Embrace it, love it. It's gonna happen. You young, so just know it's gonna be weird until you're forced to be dealt with. It's like, if I have to deal with you, like, now I'm gonna become your friend. Until they have to deal with you, they're not trying to be your friend. One thing that you had to go through, hardest time, or that you had to learn through your business process?
Oh my goodness. Just one? Or just kidding. I think we had a lot of early success. We kind of hit grow as a nonprofit, but nonetheless, we kind of hit at just the right time where people were investing in this work. It was just after 2020. 2020, we were building out the concept for this, doing listening sessions with community members. So it was around 2021 we were fundraising, which was a time when folks were investing really heavily in Black-led projects. They were investing really heavily in some of this nonprofit work. And so I was very grateful at the time for the investment and the growth that came very rapidly. And it was a tremendous amount of work. It is hard to sometimes explain. We were launching a $17 million program across 3 communities in the state. There was national media interest. At the same time, I'm trying to build an organization and scale up staffing and make sure we have like all the right policies and the right contracting and all the right vendors and the right insurance, right? Like all of the things that happen behind the scenes. And so, that's probably one of the most challenging periods, is thinking back on that time of just you're trying to do all of the external things, all of like the client-facing things, all of the public-facing things, while building your back-end infrastructure. And if I could, go back or had any advice, it would probably be to like slow down a little bit and to think about ways to pace the work more sustainably, because once you are burnt out, it is very difficult to recover, if ever possible, to fully recover from that. So, yeah.
Okay. We're in our second set. Wealth, influence, and ownership. Who really has control? So we have a lot of the trends backed by our urban community. Of course, a lot of our sports are. What is something that we can do to maintain or create ownership of these trends that we probably don't own, for real?
I think it definitely starts with educating ourselves about what resources are available to us to even begin protecting ourselves, right? We know that in this day and age and in this society, our culture is commodified. It's used for the benefit of others, right? They want our culture, but they don't want the pain and the struggles and everything that comes with it, right? So I feel like the conversations that we have, even at panels like this amongst our peers, when we see creators being embraced, or we see the new trend evolving or new product dropping, we need to start also creating space for the conversations about how, like, educating ourselves, how do we protect our entities, our intellectual properties, our ideas, our products, whether that's legally, trademarking, patenting, copywriting, whether that's, the loyalty that we build amongst our audiences, making sure that before we even release our babies, our brands, our businesses, our ideas out into the world, that we've done the legwork and the necessary things in place that make room for that protection.
So,
Yeah.
so we all definitely say a lot of things that we should do, and I think as a gang, we should try to figure it out amongst ourselves too. There's a lot of things that we think that someone else should do, and a lot of times, we are the someone else that should be having to do it. And so we got to figure out how to, get together for real, and create some type of synergy where we're not trying to have a lot of suggestion box stuff that don't have no recipient. Feel me? So with creating generational wealth, it's a lot of times we've been taught that since a kid. I don't really know myself truly a lot of our community things that we do. I know a lot of our parents that have good jobs, might have 401ks and stuff like that, but like leaving your kids something planned isn't truly something that's common. Life insurance is definitely something that has been more prevalent in the most recent of years, but what can we do as people to create generational wealth actually on paper without just saying it?
Yeah, I can start. Y'all gonna be tired of me, but I can't underscore enough the systemic factors that lead to this. Everything from the wage gap that results in lower income, then lower savings, then you are less likely to be able to invest in certain assets that appreciate over time, and that's how real wealth is built. The fact that wealth is basically a function of yesterday's wealth plus interest. So if your family had access 50, 60, 80 years ago to certain policies, home ownership, the markets, that yesterday's wealth or last generation's wealth begets today's wealth. That being said, we are not helpless within this. We have the power to both shape public policy that I think could have a dramatically different outcome, that could change outcomes dramatically, but also there are things that we can be doing ourselves. I think that some of the most important things that you can do are get into appreciating assets. Assets that appreciate over time, whether that is a home, whether that is the market via a retirement account. These are some of the best tools that you can get into that are gonna build wealth over time, and you probably want a bit of diversity within that portfolio. Sometimes real estate is doing a little bit better, sometimes home ownership, sometimes the markets are doing a little bit better. So thinking across your portfolio, what are you doing to build that wealth that's gonna appreciate over time? Also, to the extent possible, obviously, the avoidance of debt. And when you are taking on debt, how is that debt sort of smart debt? How is that debt gonna pay for itself over time? Obviously, like commercial credit card debt, not great. Debt for a higher education, could be, depends. You're gonna have to do that calculus on what makes the most sense for you. Debt for a business, again, you're gonna have to consider, does that debt make sense for you, and does that make sense for your business model, and probably get some good modeling done in there on at what point are you gonna break even and at what point are you generating revenue. So I think some of the principles I hold dearest are like the foundational things. It's not magic. It's like be invested in appreciating assets and look for opportunities to help increase your income to give you more of that buffer so that you can get into those assets in a more comfortable way. But the role of systems and policy itself, obviously given my work, is incredibly important, and we have a ton of data to show that there's sort of a reason we see differences in wealth and inheritances across race, and it is largely a function of policy, not a function of different choices across racial groups. It is largely a function of policy and resources.
Stupido. So this year, my thing is to no longer try to make my friends the professionals and make the professionals my friends. So I don't know a lot about specific policies. What policies should we be paying attention to right now?
Yeah, I'm happy to get us started. A lot. There's a lot happening locally, state level, federally. I'll start with probably federally, and then it gets a little more optimistic as I get more locally. I think federally, we saw around 2020, 2021, there was a racial reckoning across the country, lots of investment in Black-led projects in both the for-profit side and the nonprofit side across government. We saw new DEI initiatives. As this audience probably knows very well, in 2022, the Supreme Court overturned the affirmative action in higher education. That decision is not solely, has implications well reaching beyond just affirmative action. There have been a series of lawsuits after that Supreme Court decision, including here in Atlanta, the venture capital firm Fearless Fund was sued by the same group, and Fearless Fund was providing startup grants to black women businesses because black women receive 0.001% of venture capital. So like this Supreme Court decision that we think just affects higher education had vast-reaching implications and continues to have vast-reaching implications. It set the stage for the anti-DEI executive order that the president issued about 3 weeks ago, and is likely to result in, I don't know, it is hard to even quantify the loss of funding that will be coming directed to our communities, both on sort of the entrepreneurship side, homeownership side, income side, when you think about certain employers that had diversity-focused programming, it is very significant. So I would say on that side, it's certainly something to be paying attention to, and it's an ecosystem. Even the things that feel like they are not connected immediately, the political and policy tide is often shifting in ways that do have ripple impacts, that skipping of a stone, have ripple impacts that extend far beyond. And this is not something that is by mistake, it is intentional and by design. At the more state level, recently, the state of Georgia has a significant surplus. They passed some tax reform last year. We would like to see that tax reform probably benefit some of the lowest income Georgians. So there could be reasons to be hopeful around what could happen with the surplus we have in state here at Georgia. They just passed in the state legislature a state child tax credit, $250, I believe, per child that you have, that you sort of get a tax refund at the end of the year. So that's exciting. And then at the more local level, I think we have a mayor who's interested in seeing, in supporting folks, especially through this administration, so we'll see what's to come. But I think certainly at the federal level, what's happening with anti-DEI, which for many of us we know is coded for anti-Black, anti-folks of color, it is certainly something to watch and will affect businesses, higher education, employers. It has rippling impacts already across the board.
So we're definitely gonna be here after, so y'all can ask her specific questions, because I got questions for you too. So next chapter, everybody good? Yeah. Cost of success, what they don't tell you. A lot, right? You're gonna learn from your trials and errors, from anything else besides that. Books is one of my new things. I listen to books. One of my favorite books right now is Atomic Habits. Read it twice last year. If you haven't, it's a must. Anybody has not read Atomic Habits? Have not? Atomic Habits? Oh, everybody read Atomic Habits? So raise your hand if you have read Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits. Raise your hand. If you have not read Atomic Habits, raise your hand. Please, anybody in here that has read Atomic Habits will tell you, read Atomic Habits. Probably the #1 book, at least your starter book. It'll make you change your life to make sure that you do certain things subconsciously. Your toothbrush is literally sitting on your bathroom counter, just so when you wake up in the morning, you go brush your teeth. But if you actually just try it 1 week, put your toothbrush under the counter, wake up every morning and do the same routine. How many times you will not brush your teeth will change. It's just gonna be weird because you wake up and see it. The trash can's supposed to be certain places so you don't have to go find it. If you gotta go find a trash can, how many people have just sat the cup right here? But if the trash can is right here or in an accessible place where you subconsciously just go ahead and throw it in the trash rather than just sitting it on the counter, certain things just happen subconsciously that will just blow your mind. So, in our next chapter, we are going to explain a couple things that you went through that might have looked like a win, but it was really a loss, or it might have looked like a loss and it was really a win. You can pick one, and she'll pick the other.
I'll start with the first one. which is something that may have looked like a win, but was really maybe a loss behind the scenes. And I don't even define it as a loss. You embrace failure. You embrace the ups and downs of this journey of entrepreneurship. So even moments that others or yourself would define as a loss, it was really a lesson. And it's about finding that silver lining in it, right? I think for me, I was able to acquire and move into a warehouse space at 18 years old. Thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that. So yeah, it looked like a win socially, right? You get to post you dangling the keys and stepping into your own space, moving your inventory and your product, and it feels good. And in that moment, it felt really, it felt like a win, an accomplishment. You start something, you set the foundation for it, from a very young age, and now you're reaping the rewards of it, reaping the benefits from it. And even I would be lying to saying that whole girl boss aesthetic of getting the warehouse and, moving into it, it's exciting. It's like a thrill, right? But then you get hit with the overhead cost and the responsibility of making sure that your business is continuing to scale and be able to sustain everything that you're being hit with, the rent, the utilities, oh, the window broke, oh, my machine just went down. It's everything that hits you that you weren't initially prepared for, that you didn't think of, right? And so I felt like, people can applaud and they were able to see the win in it. But then as the entrepreneur who's having to deal with the daily ins and outs and ups and downs of entrepreneurial life, it can become overwhelming. It can become a lot, to the point where I was tied into a 3-year lease. When that 3rd year came around, I did a happy dance. I was ready for that phase to be done because it was a lot, especially when during that time or during that phase of me having the warehouse, we got hit with COVID, we get hit with the recession and inflation and the economy not being what it used to be. You're dealing with manufacturers not being able to have the same turnaround time, which is, hitting and negatively impacting your inventory and how that's flowing. So when you're hit with those overhead costs, hit with the problems that you didn't originally think of, it starts to feel like a loss a little bit, right? Because now it's affecting your bottom line and bottom dollar. So it's not all pleasantries, it's not all smiles, it's real work that you're now having to put your energy and focus on. So that was definitely something that looked like a win, but didn't always feel like one.
You can pick either one, or you do both of them.
Okay. I got some time to think about this. So something that looked like a loss but was really a win. When we were launching Start and Grow and launching the In Her Hands program, it was so many different pieces moving at once. And we had a lot of, thankfully, media inquiries. I got to be on MSNBC twice. That was amazing. So it reached a certain point, though, where I actually had to start declining media and interviews. So this looks like a major loss. I'm trying to raise money for this organization. It's new. I'm trying to develop sort of who my persona is going to be. Declining media and interviews, on the surface just seemed like this was a complete loss. In retrospect, I have now learned that that will be there, and it was better to take a step back and to recalibrate who the organization was going to be, what my voice was going to be, have the proper communication support, and it was okay. That media interview wasn't going to make or break whether or not this work was going to be successful. That was all the late nights and all the work behind the scenes. And so I think probably externally, and I really struggled with this, it looks like a loss probably on some accounts, but it was a reminder of, be focused on what is the core mission of what we're trying to accomplish. And when you do take advantage of those opportunities, make sure you have all of your ducks in a row. One of the principles that I apply not just here, but I think in other areas of the work and organization is the Coco Chanel rule, which is basically, you get fully dressed, put on your earrings, all your accessories, and then you take 2 things off because you probably overdone it. It's okay sometimes to be like, what about this should I actually pare back to have something to put forward that is much more refined, much more elegant, much more put together, much more thoughtful. And so by sort of scaling back a little bit, I think we were better able to establish, or I was better able to establish, what will my voice look like, what will I look like as a leader, and that is a principle that I think applies to strategic planning, workload management, so many different areas.
Dope. I don't know how Darius wants us to do this, but I think it's a perfect time for let people ask questions and answers.
Yes,
Darius,
so
how you
I
wanna do it?
have a mic, and if you have a question, you can raise your hand. I'm Kelsey. I'm the executive producer of the Purpose Tour. Make some noise for our
Everybody-
panelists and
Kelsey,
moderator.
Kelsey.
Woo, they did an amazing job. Again, we're outside giving $100,000, guys, for the issues that they were just discussing. $10,000 to 10 individuals who you feel are leading the charge on social and racial justice. So I know you have some questions per that wonderful conversation. You can ask the panelists, you can ask Mr. Dorsey, but they want to hear from you. So who's first? You over there in the corner? All right, let me put my track legs on. Boop.
Thank you. My name is Orrin Hudson, Orrin C. Hudson. The C's for checkmate. Checkmate means you win. It's not over until you win. But I am very impressed with someone that's 22 years old is brilliant. I just love that. Wow. I mean, I don't know if your mom is in your ear or somebody, your dad or whatever, but you are way beyond your age, and I am very impressed. A couple of things, and my friend on the other end, you said some things that were very great in that you got to work twice as hard to get half as much. And I love what you said about working hard is not enough. I had a young man call me, and he said, Orrin, I'm working hard. I said, working hard is not enough. You got to work intelligently. And so a lot of people say, well, I'm doing all this hard work, but you got to work smart, not hard. I was in this contest, and 20,000 people were in this contest, and I was able to beat everybody because I was working smart, they were working hard. And so I honor you for saying that working hard is really not the answer. You got to work smart, and you got to work intelligently. And so thank you guys for being here. I'm very impressed with what's going on. This is awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So I read a book recently. It's called The Greatest CEOs Are Lazy. So if anybody want to read that book, it exactly talks about what he's saying. Work smarter, not harder. The laziest people that I know that actually get stuff done just figured out how not to have their 2 feet do it. If I can figure out how not to have these 2 feet do it, then we'll go good. Most people in our culture open businesses and then end up becoming employees to their business rather than having employees at their business. If we could just work harder and smarter, we'll expand rather than having mom and pop stores.
All right, I'm going to you, and then I'm going to you, young lady.
Thank y'all so much. I appreciate all of your knowledge, wisdom, the points that are being made. I'm definitely interested. Oh, my name is Chris. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I'm interested in how do we meet the challenges of today? I mean, just from the beginning of the year, things have changed so much. Things like truth, identity, and community are being challenged, right? So how do we show up in an ecosystemic way, right, an environmental way, or a paradigm shift that I think is rooted in growth, right, from a business perspective when it comes to how we move day to day in our lives, socially or community-wise? That's my question.
To recap, the question is how do we have this paradigm shift around this constant growth and this basically capitalistic view around growth? Is that it?
So yeah, like how do we inherently respond to like this opposition that's kind of like
Okay.
over us? That's a good business mindset. Like how do we
Be a little more specific, because I think
Okay.
I get what you're trying to say too. Be a little more specific. So she
Okay,
can
I
give
got
a
you.
tangible
So,
answer.
what are some good go-to mindset things that you go to kind of keep the outside noise out so you can continue to be productive?
Yeah. At this time, not gonna lie, it's a little bit hard, especially when you are in a position of leadership and there is such an uncertain terrain. I think on the one hand, this moment amplifies the importance of the work and like why we do what we do, why we care about Black wealth, why it's an important thing to center and focus on. And at the same time, it is a moment of significant uncertainty because of a rapidly shifting all of the things you listed, political landscape where very foundations of our democracy, I think, are being questioned, including like truth and information. So I think among that, like, what do I personally do, and what do I think about in my leadership? I'm, one, thinking about practices to like care for myself, which I would encourage everyone to do. What are the practices that you have in the community that you have around you to care for yourself as things are very uncertain? The other is, I said this earlier today, like, there are no lessons for me yet, and I'm okay with that. Like, I don't know when like the lesson from this will be on the other side of like what there was to learn. I think moments in history are places where we can draw from, where we've seen this type of backlash against Black communities, against groups of color, other minority groups that we can certainly learn from. I'm in a place right now where I'm like, the goal is probably to get me to overreact. The goal is to get me to be exhausted. Every time there's an executive order, every time there's a ridiculous headline, every time he's like, this is gonna make good TV, you know, the goal is to probably have me react. What does it look like to reclaim my peace in all of that? Now, I have to pay attention to the news to some extent because of, you know, the work that I do, but if not, I would be even more so protecting my peace. And so I think now more than ever, it's like keeping that North Star in mind, finding community, recentering on like the purpose, the mission, the focus, and to the extent possible, finding like personal peace and sort of personal protection that allows you to be in it for the long haul while grappling with the reality, while not normalizing this reality as if this is just democracy as we know it, because in my view, it is not, and it's not sustainable. So I'm curious if there are other thoughts from across the panel as well.
Yeah, I kind of want to piggyback on what Hope said as well. I believe it also ties to events like this, you know, creating space where we kind of tune out what's being talked about. Not saying ignore it. Obviously, you know, you have to tune into the news and at a certain capacity, but it's about, it goes back to the saying, like, the revolution won't be televised. Our revolution will not be televised. It's about really creating space for our community, centering conversations like this that they can't touch right now, right? We're the ones in this room. So we are in control of our narrative and the conversation that we're having. So, you know, whether it's to talk about policy, about justice, about how we can take ownership of what we're creating, I think these are the conversations that we really need to cultivate and foster amongst our own. And that kind of changes the narrative of, all right, let's tune out what they're, you know, trying to, you know, create, like, turn a fire on under us, basically, and cast our eyes to, and let's focus inward on what we can control.
I hate to keep referencing books, but I just read another book last year called The Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And it's literally about that. It's what these ladies are saying, do not be ignorant. So still be adhering to what's going on, but adhere to the things that you can control. I am in a large business realm where I still have a lot of influence, but I don't do politics. I got friends that do politics. So I do give them access to use me as a tool and an instrument, and we can get on the same page of what policies and things we want to happen, but I can't really sweat every day about her stuff. That's my friend now, feel me? And she sweats every day about her stuff. I can't sweat every day about her stuff because she needs me to be able to do what I gotta do so she can use me at the time that she needs to be able to use me. But if I'm not doing what I gotta do and I'm sweating about what she got going on, we both fucked up. So there is a book, I don't know the author, but it's The Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and it's literally about still adhering to what's going on, but only adhere to what you can control.
Okay, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is by Mark Manson. One plug. Another shameless plug. Hope mentioned that the revolution will not be televised. I do want to be clear, guys. The revolution is not something we're waiting on. It's right now. So the time to get involved is now. Like, you're not looking anymore for what you can do. The Purpose Tour is one thing you can do. Nominating a Black Justice Fellow, you can do that. But we are the revolution. So we have to, again, I know it was mentioned to stay together, but we really have to be together. Mind y'all, we from Good Projects in this team, we're here from Washington, D.C. right now. So we're not just talking about the rhetoric that you're seeing in the news, we're the first level of experiencing that rhetoric, okay? And we also don't even have statehood. So we're not even talking about the conversation on the federal level and how it addresses the DC residents. So I just wanted to add that as well, as you're thinking about this in your state, to think longer and larger than just like, what am I doing here? Like, what you do here is a domino effect of what Black folks are doing across the country. And this is gonna be the last question, unfortunately.
Thank you guys so much for sharing your wisdom. The thing I wanted to talk to you about is like being centered in beliefs that you have, regardless of what goes around you. Like, I want to know, what are things that you have on repeat in your mind that have you willing to do the work that like may sometimes feel so hard, but like, what are you telling yourself on a regular basis during your personal time? If you don't mind sharing that with us.
I think for me, I kind of mentally have put myself in this space where no matter what I face that's hard, I know I come from ancestors who have faced so much harder, right? And so even in looking at my brand and what the tagline is, those pillars to connect, to love, to uplift, to build, those are so important to me. And those were principles that I was raised on, that they were instilled in me, that alone keeps me so focused on making sure that I live by those principles and stand by those principles in everything that I do, right? Like I said at the beginning when I introduced myself, the brand is so much more than just apparel. That's just the medium that I was allotted to be able to get the messaging out there. So when I say defend Black womanhood, education, not incarceration, protect Black youth, these are beliefs that I really live by and believe in wholeheartedly. So I feel like not only being so committed to those principles, but also knowing like our ancestry is beyond powerful, right? We come from resilience, we come from strength, we come from overcoming. So knowing that and being so rooted in that is what keeps me moving forward.
I have a very similar response. There's one story in particular that I sometimes tell that is really inspiring for me. Actually, I'm going to see if anybody knows what it is. It's the turning point of the civil rights movement. It's one of the longest protests in American history. Does anyone know? It's the story of the Montgomery bus boycott. And I think a lot about the Black folks in an entire city acting in collective action together, day after day, week after week, what that would have been like when they're tired, right? Day one, you're excited, you're lacing up your shoes, you got up early, the kids are ready, you're ready to go. But then it's the first month. But then the protest started in December, so now it's cold, it's February, it's month 2. And what it looks like to sustain a collective action for 381 days, which was the number of days of the protest, and what it was like on the 380th day. Did they know they were on the precipice? Did they know that they were going to turn the tide on human rights globally, not just in this country, through their collective action over time? And so a few things that I garner from this. One, I don't have to do this all by myself. There are other people lacing up their shoes in the morning, getting ready with me. There are people who are gonna offer carpool rides on those days that I'm especially tired. I don't have to do this by myself, and it is not all on my shoulders. That is a huge relief. The other thing is that, I have to believe that we are on the precipice. And I have to believe, I don't know if it's the 380th day, but I have to believe we are well on our way to things looking really, really different. And then the final thing is, I think that one of the really insidious impacts of inequality, oppression, whatever we want to call it, is that it tries to take away your hope and your imagination. And so I think about the hopefulness, the optimism, the imagination, and the beauty in that we can have around generating a world that has yet to exist. We are building things that have yet to exist in this world, and every day I get to be a part of that. That is a huge, tremendous honor. So even when it's hard, even when the invoices are stacking up and folks get on your nerves, it's just, it's a tremendous honor to be a part of it, and that we get to do it together.
I think I'm the last one. So my
one
last
more question?
thing, huh?
You have one more question?
No, I was just answer a question.
Okay, go ahead.
You want to answer a question?
had a question.
Oh, well, let me answer her first.
Okay, go ahead.
So basically, I know this thing about me. I'm blessed, and God put me in these positions. So it's a lot of times that we all want to quit, but there's a lot of people that rely on me. I employ over 1,000 people. I got friends, family, and if I quit and I stop, there's a lot of people affected. And honestly, because I'm blessed from God, if I don't use my blessings, He's gonna give them to somebody else. 2020, well, so I don't know if y'all saw my tattoo on my neck. 11/11. So on 11/11/2020, I broke my neck. 3 p.m., middle of the day. 2 cars avoiding another car hit my G-Wagon. I flipped out the sunroof onto the highway. A car protected me from getting hit. $5,000 flew out my pocket. He raked it up and put it all back in my pocket. He's the one that called the ambulance. I mailed her the money immediately. When I woke up the next day, police only asked me, "You want to press charges?" Fuck does that mean? I just got hit. They're like, insurance, just pay them. Like, they don't have insurance. Neither one of them. One was driving another person's car without full coverage. The other person, just insurance lapse. Broke my neck. I'm full covered in 3 months. How? Can't explain it. Of course, I can explain it. I don't know who believe in God, but I definitely believe in God. But, so, there's a lot of things that, of course, we all go through that we just got to keep going through. I got a Bentley after the G-Wagon. Upgrade. I tied it in my hand. Get out your head and get out your feeling. Get out your head and get back in your brain. Of course, we all go through things, and that literally, to me, is my mantra. I go through things, y'all go through things. But get out your head and get back in your brain. It's the same place. There's a lot of things that stop us, like stress. Stress is the most pointless emotion in the world. It just literally hinders us from getting to the next point. I'm not saying don't feel, because I feel. But I feel for 30 seconds, I'm pissed. 30 seconds, punch a wall. But then you gotta move the fuck on and handle what you have to handle. So my thing every day to get past everything is to make sure I know that somebody else is gonna rely on me. And if I don't use my blessing, somebody else will. Do you got a question?
I do. And although this is a team effort, hope I understood your pain. I approve the invoices as well. So, one of the benefits of doing that is I get to ask questions at this thing. All right, so I actually do have a question for you, Hope. I'm a reading guy. Dr. Dorsey discovered books. He blessed those on me. And also discovered the internet, and I'm able to do a lot of research. So I wanted to make sure I was getting this right. You have started a basic income program in the same neighborhood that Dr. Martin Luther King was working in, primarily focused on women. My lawyers told me I couldn't say black, but I looked at the statistics, it's a lot of black women. All right, and I also, as a nonprofit executive myself, I can look at tax records and stuff. So this is not a small program, Hope. This is last time I checked, I think in 2024, like $15 million you guys were planning to distribute. This is like a question coming from your cousin, right? How do you deal with all of those hey big head texts from all of your friends, family, colleagues and stuff, managing such a large portfolio, particularly as a woman, but you might be black. I can't say black. My lawyer said I couldn't say black. I never said black in here, all right? But as somebody that may identify as black, particularly at the Black Justice Fund stage, in this black house, which is the gathering spot, founded by a black man, all right, 2 black men, all right, in a crowd full of
Black people. Black people.
Who said that? How do you deal with all of that, Hope? And the follow-up question to you, Trinity. You are under 25 last time I checked. I can't say that. My lawyer said I can say under 25. And you've had similar pressures, particularly being a public-facing person through your social media platform. How do you deal with all of those external pressures? I'm asking for myself. right? Because I live on D&D, so I would love to learn a couple things from you guys.
Yeah, how to, I mean, it's obvious, it's difficult managing it all, and I think that in particular, the way our programs run, they're very concentrated. He is correct. We run a guaranteed income program in Dr. King's neighborhood where he was born, the Old Fourth Ward neighborhood of Atlanta. It's one of the most unequal neighborhoods in the city today. And if you don't know where that is, it's right in the Boulevard corridor near the East Side Trail of the Beltline, and obviously it's where Dr. King and Coretta are buried to this day. So their legacy is really present in this neighborhood that's really unequal in one of the most unequal cities in the country. I think asking us, who will we be? Will we embrace a legacy of justice and equality and fighting for what is right? Or will we just kind of throw up our hands? So as we run the program, luckily it's been really focused in that neighborhood and then 3 other neighborhoods across the state. And, you know, just maintaining the constant incoming that comes from this. I think I have an incredible team that helps me with that. And then, you know, folks who I think have been I was really surprised by the incredible amount of support that I received when launching this. I thought it was kind of like a little bit of like a nerdy project, and I think people responded to it really well, especially given what it was saying, and I think it started to resonate given what's happening in our economy, what's happening in our political system, what's happening, I think, across the country. Like, our economy just isn't working for far too many people, and so the concept of, you know, like a monthly stipend, especially for some of the folks in our economy who face some of the highest economic challenges, Black women, the program being focused on that was something I found people were really receptive to, and that there was an outpouring of support, which I was myself a little surprised at. And then the last thing that I'll mention, tying it full circle, Dr. King himself was an early advocate of guaranteed income. And by guaranteed income, we mean no or very little strings attached cash payments to members of a community. After he finished his advocacy for civil and democratic rights, he and other civil rights leaders turned their focus towards economic rights because they knew our civil rights are somewhat empty if we don't have the economic power that we need to enact those rights. And so the two are inherently linked. So yeah, there's a lot of incoming, but I'm very grateful to have an amazing team, and also that so much of it is support, collaborations in the very community that we need.
But I'm sorry, Hope, and you didn't answer my question. How do you deal with the hey big head text?
The hey big head
That's
text?
the one. How do you deal with those? Not to say your head is big. It looks normal sized, at least from this range.
A little bit of a forehead. I don't get a lot of the hey big head text. I don't get a lot of the hey big head text. Exactly, they know better. They don't have my number. Yeah, they don't have my number. Exactly.
I love that. And Trinity, closing us out, as a 23-year-old entrepreneur, how do you
22.
My bad. Oh, my bad. As a 22-year-old entrepreneur, how do you handle the external pressures as you continue to forge in your journey? And I'm assuming it has something to do with this amazing support section you have in the front.
Definitely this major support system I have in the front. My parents, my grandmother, my younger brothers. They keep me rooted. They keep me grounded. I still, outside of being an entrepreneur, I still have to show up as a daughter, as a sister. This past weekend, my brother right here won his state championship basketball game. So being able to detach and not always having to play CEO and entrepreneur, but getting to be a big sister who shows up to their games and just gets to support and cheer them on, to, you know, be a daughter to my fabulous parents and get to connect with them and have silly conversations, or just, you know, kick back to play Scrabble with my grandmother or put puzzles together. It's moments like that that really allow me to detach and still, you know, be present and being 22 and still growing up and still enjoying life. And then to answer your initial part of the question too about even social media, I unplug. And it's hard sometimes because I feel like in growing this since I was 14, a lot of your value is attached to how you show up socially, to the point where if I just unplug for even a week, 2 weeks, I have people DMing me asking me, are you okay? everything going, are you good? And it's like, guys, I know I didn't post, but yeah, I'm still living, breathing, surviving. But yeah, I think unplugging, putting my self-care and mental first, making sure that I'm good, because if I can't show it for myself, I can't show it for anybody else in any capacity. So I know that sometimes it's just about putting your oxygen mask on first, making sure that you're good so you can keep it pushing for everybody else, right? Like Dr. Dorsey said, you have to, people rely on you. So I feel like in dealing with some of those pressures, it's about making sure you prioritize your self-care, your mental health, and making sure you stay close to those who do keep you grounded and uplifted and who don't always directly tie your value to your output, right?
Can we please give a round of applause for our amazing panelists? Miss Trinity Simone, Miss Hope Wallensack. Can we please give another round of applause to these amazing ladies? I'm telling y'all, I told y'all, you can pay me in standing ovations. Come on now, I need to hear it. I need to hear it. I can't curse no more, we're recording. I need to hear it. Now, before we close out, let these amazing people know, where can they continue to follow your journey, Hope?
They can continue following the Grow Fund at the GRO Fund on Instagram and all their social media, and then Audacity of Hope, that's me.
Your page is private, girl. Telling people to follow you. Hey, Trinity, where can they follow you? Trinity got about 2 million followers these days, but she might see y'all follow her. Trinity, where can they continue to follow your journey?
You can follow me personally on Miss Trinity Simone, MS Trinity Simone, and then my business platform on all social media platforms is Black Vibe Tribe. The website is blackvibetribe.com.
Certainly, and last but certainly not least, Dr. Dolo Dorsey, where can we continue to follow your journey, brother?
My Instagram is Dolo Dorsey, D-O-L-O Dorsey, and I moved to Houston, so y'all come to Houston whenever y'all feel like it. I'm in Atlanta too, whenever y'all want restaurants. See, most of my restaurants are here, but we launch our Houston block this month.
I tell you, don't tempt me with a good time. Might end up there. Hey, but can we please give a round of applause? Dr. Dolo Dorsey is also in Atlanta. He's in Atlanta, not just for this amazing conversation. I did kidnap him, but he's also welcoming his first child into the world. Can we please give Dr. Dolo Dorsey a round of applause? The amazing mother of his child is in the back. Can we please give her a round of applause as well? All right, so like I told you all before we got started, tonight is special. You all have an opportunity to not just be recipients of this amazing knowledge that we received from this conversation, but participants in this process that is going to be occurring. On March 16th is our deadline. Nominations will close. Each and every one of you, if somebody that you love, somebody that you care about, you love yourself, I love myself. If somebody that you love and somebody that you care about was not nominated for this process, you only have yourself to blame. Everybody should have received a QR code when they walked in the store. If you didn't, there was one in your seat. Before you leave today, I encourage you, please scan that QR code and nominate somebody for the Black Justice Fellowship. Good projects through our Black Justice Fund will be investing $100,000 this spring